Uh, Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is doing all right. Uh, I will be trying to stream because I've been having some issues today with the net. But okay. Uh, why did I make this stream? It was basically just to talk a bit about the stuff I've been talking about here in my videos, mainly aspects of politics and of economy related to this situation of the tariffs and all of this that has been going on. Now, it would be easy to just blame everything in one single factor. It would be easy to find a convenient scapegoat to all the issues and problems of the world. And in my case, in our case, because I know a lot of people from the UK also tune in, and I thank you for that. But in our case, to simply say Trump is to blame, the tariffs are to blame, Brexit is to blame, whatever. Sorry. My cat opens the door and then leaves. Uh, but the truth is, we cannot blame one single factor to all of the issues that we are living through. This is the truth. Of course, there are things that have a deep impact, and right now we can see the world changing around us. We can see politics changing day to day, really. And myself personally, I feel both fascinated and also not scared because that is not really my way of dealing with things. But I feel a bit disconcerted with all of this because when I was a kid, real kid, really, I saw the Berlin Wall fall. I saw the Soviet Union fall. I saw all of those events. I went through them. I remember being sitting with my dad and my mom in our living room, watching the TV, and my dad turning to me and saying, "Sorry, I never expected to see this." Because you see, my dad was born in 1943. He died when I was young, but he's not alive anymore. But he saw a lot. He went to war, to a colonial war. He was in special ops, just like my uncles too. So he was a man that he was a working man, but he had businesses, sorry, bakeries. Uh, but he was also a person that invited me, let's call it this way, awakened in me passion for culture, for music, and especially a passion to think for yourselves. Think for yourself. You always told me that. You may follow advices, but you always need to think for yourself. Sorry for this. But um, he always told me that. And this is really what I'm doing right now in this channel. I am talking, I am thinking, and I am learning. I learn from the comments. I learn from the when someone appears in the chat. I learn from moderating other channels. I learn from helping other people make contents to their channels. It's a learning experience, and I think that it's very important for all of us to learn something, even if it's the smallest thing. You know, even something as stupid as a more effective way of folding bags. You know, everything helps us to learn something. Now, let's continue with this. Now, what do we have right now, for example, in economical terms? Now, we have the United States discovering its own fragility, that the experts in the country, the business in the country, and a part of the population that is not completely oblivious to it knew that even though the USA has an impressive army, and it does, it has an impressive army, its economics depend on the interaction with other economics. The USA depends on its economical ties with Canada, for example. The USA depends on the economic ties with China. And the USA depends in economic ties with about every nation in the world. A lot of the parts of the, let's call it military parts, technology, know-how of the American arms industry, for example, depend on foreign goods and foreign workers and foreign know-how, foreign technology. You look at something as simple, not simple, but as an F-36, you look at the list of where the parts come, and you will be surprised. I was. I took a look at it because I was curious about it. And even Portugal sends parts to the F-36. Canada sends a very important part. Germany, France, you name it. You go to the civilian aircraft companies like Boeing. You go to the auto industry, and you see this interaction. And what I cannot understand is how the United States sees that as something bad, because it's not. It really is not, because with these economical ties, the United States can, for example, influence China, influence Europe, influence the entire world where it has an economic tie. For example, another example, US aid. USA aid, it's extremely important, really important for the soft power and the influence the USA has in the world. But if you tell me the USA no longer wants to have that part, that role, then the only thing I can tell you is that then the USA must also prepare itself to lose that status, that soft power, and those commercial ties, and to think the type of world we live in, a globalized world, and it will continue to be a globalized world even without the USA, and to think that you'll be able, for example, to produce all the cars exclusively, sorry, with goods, workers, know-how, everything inside the country. To think that after the lousy job the USA did in destroying its own economical production, destroying its education system, destroying a series of things that were essential to economic might, that went away. But look, it was not just the USA that did it. For example, Europe focuses a lot in economical and social cohesion. You know, better better life, a better way of living. Peaceful existence until the worms of death, this is how I call them, began eating away at the fabric of our society again. Inside the EU, they are eating away in Hungary, they are eating away in Slovakia, and they are lingering in France, in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, everywhere. And the UK is in the same position now as the US is true. It's on the brink of losing democracy for a long time. And people think that, for example, when I make my comments, that I think that people who vote reform are simply stupid. Speaking about the UK right now. But to call someone stupid without trying to understand why do they think that way, why do they act that way, is being stupid yourself. I know where those people come from. I have worked every day of my life. I told you I'm the son of a baker. I was a baker until my 25, late 20s. Then I started doing something. But I have to work every day, you know. I'm what an American would call a country boy or a hillbilly or whatever. I see a lot of things that are not correct. I see a lot of things that are not equal in my country. I also feel sometimes as a stranger in my country for more than one different reasons, due to my background, due to not being a pure-blooded Portuguese, being more of a German French. You know, we came here, we married, people, my family, we married around, and now we are Portuguese, but we are not completely Portuguese. We have differences. And let's continue. But I understand the feelings of those people. I understand them feeling angry because they can't get a job. I feel them angry because they can't get a car, a home. I feel them angry for not having a quality of life that perhaps their parents had. in a different way, but they had it. And this is the first thing you have to understand. When you are talking with a person like that, you have to explain to them and show them, even if they don't listen, you repeat this again. You have to show them that the people, like in Reform, like Mr. Farage, like Mr. Tice, like Mr. Trump in America, you have to show these people, look, these problems, they exist because the problems exist. You may say, oh no, no, they don't exist. No, the problems exist. How they are perceived by people, it's a different thing. The first thing, for example, I will give you this example. In regards to immigration, the first thing you have to show people, you must definitely show them the difference between who is a political migrant, political refugee, an asylum seeker, and who is an economic immigrant. As for the economic immigrants, you can exert control. It can be harsher or lighter, but on that section, I am fully I fully agree that we have to control it. But don't take what I'm saying out of the context. Let me finish so that you can understand my reasoning. What I'm trying to tell you is this. If you talk with me about economical migrants, no, simply people that live in another part of the world and that they want, for example, to work in Europe to earn some money, perhaps bring their family, whatever. Look, it's up to us to think, do we have jobs for these people? Do we have money to educate these people? Because that's, I will go to it. I will explain this part. And important, do we need these people? Because if we need these people to work in our industry, if we need people to work in our ports, if we need people to work in our fields, if we don't have enough people, then my friend, I'm sorry, but we need to have these people, even if they are seasonal workers, even like that. But you need people, or else you won't have your ports, you won't have your industry, you won't have your taxes, and we all are poor. Either that, or we start having kids, and we can only start having kids in big families if the state stops wasting money in things that we perhaps do not need, in measures that we perhaps do not need. Okay? This is an issue here in Portugal because politicians earn too much money and they have too much bureaucracy surrounding them. And I'm going to say this to you, they are serious. I can say that in our assembly, our Republican Parliament, we are a republic. Don't confuse us with the Americans. Most of the people that enter in that parliament, they are serious people. They are people that, with their different reasons, they want to make the country a better place. Of course, you also have those that are there to earn prestige, to earn a salary, and not do very much. But most of those people, they are serious, you know. You cannot, and even those that are more extremist, like the guys from Chile right now and whatever, and the nutters in the left, you know, even those idiots, in the middle of them, there are serious people. No. And all this crisis that was now fabricated by political questions of, and, but they are serious. I have to say this, I have to be honest with me and with others and say, yes, most of them are honest people. But the issue here is then the entire network of bureaucracy that is created by the functioning of a state that is overwhelmed by its own regulations. You need to have a system, a better system of rule, a system that will avoid having demagogues taking over it and, in that sense, destroy democracy itself. What I'm trying to say here, but first of all, before I forget, let me explain the part of the education of migrants. Now, economical migrants, the first thing that has to happen when they arrive into your country, my country, your country, is to take those people at least a month or 2 or 3, whatever, and they must leave that course knowing the basics of the language, of the main language of the current country where they are going to be, the law, and especially that they need to respect everyone inside the country. Okay? What do I mean with this? I mean that they have to respect different religions, they have to respect different people, and they have to be very careful and follow the law. And then if they are economical migrants, give them a permit to work, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, whatever. Let people work, let people prove themselves. And if they prove to be decent and law abiding people, you let them stay and you let them work. Because we, like I said, if we need them, we need them. And when we come to the political asylum, people that are being persecuted, people that are under threat of being killed, being raped, or being, I don't know, culturally annihilated, we, as civilized people, we have a political obligation of helping them. Does this mean to have them ad eternum living in our countries? No, it might not mean that. But it means for us, for example, to help them and offer them a safe haven in a time of storm. Imagine, for example, a Christian couple being persecuted because the wife was Muslim or whatever, they had to run away, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. You understand what I'm trying to tell you. And if they return to their country, they will be killed or something bad will happen to them. And they look at you and they ask you, please help us. We as human beings, as people, for God's sakes, and I am not the most empathic of persons, but I have logic. We have a duty to help them. Every religion in the world, every ethical system, Stoicism that I'm very familiar with, I was more or less educated in Stoicism too. Every 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 system of belief and ethics tells us that we have a moral obligation to help others. And why is that? Because we are human beings. We are gregarious people. We are a gregarious species. We evolve by staying together and evolving. So when I hear people telling such stupid things as sink the boat, don't let them in. No, my friend, you don't sink the boat. Okay, you lead the boat to safety. You speak with people and you hear their stories case by case, and then you see who or what they are. Are they asylum seekers? Are they political refugees? Are they economical migrants? What are they? Are they criminals? But you have to have that process. And I know it's expensive, and I know it's cumbersome, and I know sometimes it's frustrating. But you do what we do here in Europe, and I'm talking now, right? I'm talking directly to all of you in the UK. You don't put people in hotels. You don't put people in bloody tents. You do what did here. You know, you find a place where you can safely have those people in, like we have here. I will repeat it again. And then you process their cases case by case. For example, I know of cases, and I'm going to talk about a case that I know specifically, that I saw in the news and that I accompanied. An Iranian father that came with his wife and his daughters because he was of that religion, the Zoroastrianism, I don't know, the old religion of Persia, Parsi, something like that. He was being persecuted, both for religious and political reasons. And he came here and he asked for asylum. He had the training. I won't say anything more because I don't want to, people might, I don't like to target people or talk about people. But he came here with his family, okay, and the Portuguese state offered the man asylum. He was able to stay here, to send his daughters to school, to work, to pay taxes. But in the very beginning, he didn't even speak Portuguese. He had to learn it. His wife neither. His daughters not. Us also not able to speak it. So my taxes, my taxes paid for him to have a place to stay, you know, and a way to work and pay us back. And as far as I know, that is exactly what he is doing. But here comes the demagogue, and now we are going to go into the meat of the subject, into the narrative of the demagogue. Here comes the demagogue and says, "Look, they have a house, they have food in their bellies, they have money in their pockets. Look, they have great cell phones, modern cell phones, and you are paying for it. And they don't, they don't help you get a house, they don't help you get a job, they don't help you get a car, they don't help you getting a cell phone. You could starve as far as they know." Is this statement incorrect? Objectively, if the state is failing you, if you are a normal person and you are not some lazy bastard that doesn't want to work and get all the things I was talking about, if the state does not control the price of houses, if the state does not control the price of energy, if the state does not control the price of food, then yes, there is truth in this statement. You can get them that are not us that, and you can't get me. That is correct, and that is something the state has to correct. But does that mean you will stop helping those people that are not worried about not getting the job or whatever, and they will eat anything you will give them to? Then you that have a social network to fall upon, you see the difference. This is the first objective difference you can say. Then you can tell your state and you can demand change, but you do not demand change voting for that guy that tells you what you want to hear. I will explain this. The difference between the truth and a narrative is that a narrative, the demagogue's narrative, always has some truth in it. So they will speak a lot of true statements, things that you can see and see that they are happening. You can see that housing is expensive. You can see that food is expensive. You can see that energy is expensive. You can see that jobs are not, at least the jobs that you want, are not abundant. You can see that sometimes there is insecurity. You can see all of that. The difference is this. This is why I was telling you to not remove my statements from my context. The difference is this, and it's very simple, and you will learn if you want to discern these things. If a flashy guy, a flashy politician comes to you and says these truths, he can tell them all, but then he will nudge you through his way. He will teach you to hate, even if you did not hate before. He will justify that hate because he will use that hate to control you. There are people in the United States of America losing jobs, losing houses, even losing their lives or the lives of their loved ones, and they are still supporting Donald J. Trump and his policies. And I hear the Americans say, oh, it's a cult. No, it's not a cult. It's desperation because people are desperate to not be wrong. I always say that I am sarcastic, that I sometimes mock people, true, but I never indulge in Schadenfreude, no, in mocking the disgrace of others. And I don't. But I also do not admit that people persist in an error and then expect me, for example, to pat them in the back and say, now, all will be good. No. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, Dialogues to Myself. Read it. Basically, this is one of the things that he said that is in line with Stoic teachings. Whenever you commit a mistake, it is only a mistake, an error, if you fail to admit it, even if only to yourself, and seek to correct it. Understand? You may have been fooled. You may have voted in a person thinking that he will do right. The first step, and I have done this, I have been fooled too. I'm human. The first step is to admit to yourself it was a mistake to vote in this person. What have I done? I was crazy. And you don't try to justify it. No, you admit the bloody mistake. Another teaching. I learned this in martial arts when I was a kid. In Buddhism, it is not the sensation that is unnatural. It's the way you react to that sensation. What do I mean with this? Meaning if someone cuts me off in traffic, it is natural that I should feel angry, or even hurt, or even threatened by that action. The way that I deal with that sensation, that is my responsibility. It is my responsibility how I react. And believe me, this has helped me greatly in my life. Because, I'm not a big guy. I don't know, 170 something in height, but I'm a very wide guy. I have always been a heavy set person. I'm a bit fat right now, to be honest. But I even did some security work. So when I enter in a room, you notice me. I usually compare myself with that Korean actor that guy that is very popular. I always forget the name of the guy, but I am that body type, and sometimes I got really angry. You know, even with even with all the things that I learned both in life and educating myself. But I am a person that is capable of doing harm to others. That's it. Let's call it like this. But ever since I started years ago, ever since I started to simply become indifferent and ignore certain things, believe me, I am a happier person. And in politics, this is what you need to understand. You need to learn to be indifferent. So when that reaction arises, breathe in and think. If I do this, if I flash my lights to the guy driving, or if I even the more stupid, try to tailgate him or whatever. If I honk my horn, if I scream, what will this have? What effect will this have on me? You have to be selfish. When you're not doing the reaction, I'm not saying that you should not react to everything. Of course, no. If I come to a situation where I need to react, I will react. Like my dad used to say, I won't start it, but I will end it. And I have spoken often also that the first thing that I learned in martial arts is perception, knowing where you are, knowing how will you act. The second one is to avoid the issue. The third is to speak. And if you come to the fourth, no, when you can do nothing about it, you can't avoid it, you have to deal with it, you end it, and quickly, one way or another, with a display of force, whatever, you end it, you end the issue. And I don't like violence, but I know how to use it. And me, you, everyone has that potential. Okay, now let's continue. But this is what the demagogue does. He shows you truth. And then he says, here's your scapegoat. They are to blame. And when other parties began to talk about, hey, but what are you talking about? No, gas is high because we have private companies running our industry, running our energy supply, and they want to sell us energy more expensive, and there's a war going on. And in case of the UK, and we left the EU, you know, and oil prices are spiking. And we went to green energies, so it's the green energy to blame. I haven't. I have a bone to pick up with this one, but I will do it later in the stream. They, and what do they? What is their answer? Oh, but you didn't take care of the immigrant problems. Oh, and this is happening. Oh, and the boats are coming. Oh, and then we are being invaded. Look, safe country. And now I'm going to address directly to any reform Brexiter person. The first thing I will tell you is this: I respect you if you respect me. Simple. Even if I don't agree with you, even if I find your opinions infantile, but I won't undermine you or tell you that you're stupid. You're stupid. No. This is the first thing I will say. The second thing that I will say is this: you are not being invaded. You are the victims, in this case, you voted for them too, of an incompetent government. And it's not Labour that has been there for a year. It's all the idiots that came before, mainly the Tories. Okay. And mainly Mr. Farage, who was a paladin of leading Europe. He has gotten richer, not you. Because when the UK left the EU, every politician in the UK knew perfectly well that from that moment on, Europe had no business in whoever wanted to go into the UK, even if they left the shores of Europe, even if they rented boats in France, got on the boats, and went to the UK. No, that is the UK's problem. Because France, the Netherlands, I don't know, Denmark, Spain, Portugal, every country, they can even hop on a boat in Madagascar and ride up of the shore up to the UK. It's not Madagascar's claim. From that moment on, the UK's immigrant problem is the UK's immigrant problem. There is no safe country, there is no reason, and there is no legal reason to stop people from buying a ship, a boat, and going to the UK or swim to the UK. The French authorities stopped the selling of boats and all of that, not because of preventing migrants from going to the UK, but because people die in the channel. And they were doing their state attitude and tried to quell a problem. But French taxes and EU taxes have no business in paying for services to the UK. Services, I might add, the UK could pay for and ask for, but the problem will still be of the UK. There were even proposals to set up a center of some kind in France so that UK responsible people from the English, good God, from the British authorities to come to process people and then pay for everything. Pay for the electricity in the center, pay for the food in the center, pay for the water in the center, pay for absolutely everything, and then decide who they are going to keep and who are they going to repatriate. But not on our taxes. You left. You are not a part of the Dublin Agreement. You are not a part of EU institutions. You do not contribute to the taxes in the EU. You contribute nothing. We have no moral, no political, no economical, no social, not even ethical responsibility for your issues. I know I'm being harsh, but this is the truth. You need, and you have guys in reform saying France is a safe place, France is a safe country, and in this and that and blah 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 and blah blah. They are fooling you. They are feeding you spoon by spoon of crap. What they should have been telling you is something like that. We should, if they don't imagine this, they don't want the immigrants that they don't want this, they don't want that. They, we should be decommissioning, for example, an old army base and setting up accommodations decent, because these are people that are not numbers, that are not cattle, they are not gray faces in the mist. You have to treat people as people. They could be telling you this. We can set up a center here. We will determine who has the conditions to be in the UK. And that would be sovereignty. But the issue you have here now is this. You don't have the means. You don't have the money. You don't have the political will. Okay? You don't have nothing. Zero. Because the idea of that trickling down economy and all of that shit, of not making the rich people pay for their taxes, pay for their contribution to the state, that is what has brought you here to this situation. Because they dominate the media, they dominate the state, and I don't like Storm very much. And he has disappointed me deeply. But he has done things, but you never see those things in the media. You just see whatever other forces want you to see. I'm not being, this is not a conspiracy theory. You just have to compare news in the UK, and for example, in France, in Portugal, in Spain, in Germany. You just have to compare the news. You don't want to use European sources? I don't know. Watch a Japanese channel, news channel. They have channels in English. I know. I have seen them. I have seen a couple of them. I don't know if it's NKV or something, and something like that. I don't recall the name. But do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? They are grabbing that narrative, telling you truths, because there are truths. This is what some people in the left don't understand. By the way, I'm not in the left, and I'm not in the right, because both extremes, they come back behind your back, they clap, and they screw you. What I am about is truth and logic. What I am about is speaking the truth. It's not lying. It's talking. This is why whenever I vote, I always vote in the middle ground, in the people with common sense, saying not the easy truth that people like to hear, but the harsh reality. Like for example, telling me that in Portugal we have an issue with healthcare, telling that they are trying to solve it, telling me that it might take a while to solve because these are problems. These are problems. I'm going to be very clear with you. The problems we have right now come from before the revolution in 74. They were increased in the 20 years after that, and now we are dealing with a backlash. In this, and they are trying to find solutions. Some solutions are working, other solutions are not working. Okay, but these people, at least, they are clear in saying, every party, they are saying, this is working, this is not working. And they are right. But then you have the demagogues in the extreme left, in the extreme right, blaming the government, you know, doing such stupid things as a police raid that happened in one of the streets with migrants here, turning it into some in the left they called it some kind of fascist attack or whatever. Fascist behavior. Oh look, they are doing this, they are doing that. Okay, or calling racism to everything, or calling fascism to everything. You know who these people remind me of? These people remind me of the communist bastards that when I was a kid and I was in public and I spoke German with my grandfather, they called me a bloody Nazi. Don't worry, this stream is not monetized. Imagine this. You're a 7-year-old kid. You're you are outside the bakery, whatever, after in the morning with your grandfather that never spoke German with his children because he was afraid of political backlash in the old regime. And that he looked at me. I was a bright kid. I already spoke when I was started learning German around 5. I already spoke English and French because I have an older brother, 10 years older, and he would speak with me to train his language skills that are also excellent. I have to say this. I learned a lot with my big brother, you know. And then he would speak German with me. He basically he taught me how to play cards and how to speak German. And someone passes by and calls you, the Nazis are speaking. You are speaking that Nazi language. Oh look, the little Nazi. This is why I'm not a racist, because I have seen its ugly face. And I will not admit when someone looks at me and tells me, you don't know, you're white, you don't know what it's like. Fuck off. You think only whites are racist? I wasn't going to say this, but I will say it right now. The biggest fucking racist I ever knew was a black guy, a colleague at school. Eat that, okay? But I'm ranting a bit, so let's go on to the meat again of this of the stream. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is this: whenever you hear someone coming to you with this bloody narrative, speaking some truth, but then trying to nudge your opinion to be into that entire MAGA Brexit reform crowd, tell them to shut it. And you go vote in the guy that is telling you, is admitting those problems exist, and is trying to offer you solutions. And if that party fails, you vote them out. But if you vote in those demagogues, if you vote in reforms, if you vote in those extremist parties, you will never get them the fuck out. Because as soon as they have any kind of leverage, any kind of power, they are not going to try to make your life better. And I'm not just talking about the extreme right. I'm talking about the leftists too, the extreme left. They will do absolutely the same. You know, the only difference between Hitler and Stalin was the mustache fashion. They were both two idiots. You know, because when these people get into power, they do exactly what Mr. Trump is doing now, trying to overwhelm the institutions in order to make them ineffective, and then appear like some kind of Jesus to save everybody and to be the Messiah. We don't need messiahs. We even need religion to be something that is private, that is not public. We even need that. You want to know why? Because it's being used as a political weapon. And we don't need that. I said this in another stream, in another video, sorry, but either we human beings start following logic and drop the entire emotional thinking, or we will be extinct. Okay, now something wrong here. Let me see. Let me see if this will get better. The stream is having some issues. Now, it seems I will have to stop the stream. Yes, it seems so. Well, I would like to thank you all, anyone that came in and listened to me. I will continue to talk about this. I will have another stream about this. I was planning on having a stream every Saturday, but I will perhaps make a stream during the week, you know, also around this time, and continue this subject because I think it's very important for us to understand how to deconstruct the demagogue speech. We have to understand these traps. We have to understand something very simple is to really listen to what people are telling you. And do not let yourself be aroused, be excited by easy speeches and emotional catches. No, go for broke. Go for broke. Go to the meat of the subject. What is this guy telling you? If he's just if he's just saying blah, 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 immigrants are bad, and he is not offering you a solution, at least not one as stupid as Mr. Lee Anderson, eh? Stick migrants into into a tent in England, the bloody winter. No, perhaps he would like to send them to Scotland, so the Scots have to deal with England, and it's bullshit, like they have been for centuries. Okay, and a cold shower and off to the fields to work. What can you tell? What can you say? Oh, well, seems the stream is now all right. I'll continue for a little while. It's my net that has been having problems. Okay, not the country, not another. It's there is not another blackout. Okay, God. But I already did a stream about that one. Uh, as I was saying, these people they give you easy answers to hard problems, and they don't go to the meat and to the brunt of that problem. And when I talked about labor, I told you that Starmer had really disappointed me because he knows what is wrong. He knows. He's not stupid, believe me. No, he's not. He's a very smart man. I can tell. He's not stupid. He knows exactly what the issues are, but he's so afraid of losing the votes of the red wall or whatever that he won't be a man about it, risk his position, and simply tell people what is wrong. Brexit. Why? Because he, the other politicians, and the British themselves don't want to admit it. Even the rejoiners, those that think that it's simple to return, like they say. But they fail to recognize the reasons why it happened. They keep saying We were fooled. We did not vote for this. The referendum was just a consultation. It was not bounding by law. It was the Tories that wanted to vote this and leave. They keep saying all of this. But remember when I spoke earlier in the stream about a mistake is only a mistake when you fail to recognize it, even into yourself, and seek to correct it. Remember when I spoke about it's the having a reaction. It's normal. The, and I went offline from. Now, sorry about this. The Wi-Fi where I am streaming from today is not that good. I have to find a solution for this. Now, let's continue. The British still, and this is now about Brexit, the British have still not admitted the fundamental error that happened. You have to admit it to yourselves. As a country, you, you know, and I'm not saying going on a FAFO rage like the Americans are going with videos mocking themselves and mocking others and telling, I told you so, I told you so. I'm not talking about that. It's not useful to anyone. But to simply, as a country, admit we were better off inside the EU. We were better off having access to other European countries. We were better off having a decision at the table. We were better off. This is what you have to admit, just this. And then you have to stop voting on the people that are playing with your emotions. You know, you have in England you have things like direct access to your MPs. One letter, two letters, three letters, four letters telling them this. Comply with the TCA. Comply with the TCA. Why are you not complying with the TCA? Why do we not have enough people in the borders taking care of this? Why have you not spoken with the EU to help you set up a system to process immigrants if we don't have enough space in Dover? Why isn't the government, for example, decommissioning an army base and putting migrants there and processing them? Why do we not have proper channels for people that want to work and live in the UK? Why do we not have a proper process for screening people that enter here? Why are migrants being stuck into hotels where they are subjected to be raped, to be trafficked, to get out and commit crimes out of desperation, many of them? Why are people sleeping in the street? You have to ask yourselves the same questions I ask myself here and demand answers like I do. But to remain in that state of it's someone else's problems, oh, the politicians need to take care of it, that is not a solution. Your solution is your voice. Get a YouTube channel like I have. I'm not earning money for this. I work every day. I'm proud of it. You know, you can get a channel and start speaking. One channel, two channels, three channels, four channels, five channels. With the internet, we have access to 10,000 years of human knowledge. And people spend their times in conspiracy theories, in transforming simple events into major events. I don't know if you that are listening to me right now, if you saw my stream about the blackout. It was nothing. It was an energy spike in Spain, and the three networks were connected: Portugal, Spain. They were connected, you know, and the energy crashed. I knew what was happening less than an hour after it happened. It happened around 11 o'clock. Around 11:40 or something like that. I had enough power in my phone, you know. I listened to the radio, to the government's channel, or let's call the public broadcast. They told us what was bloody happening. All of the systems continued to work. Telecommunications of the state, meaning police, meaning firemen, meaning emergency services, meaning hospitals, meaning government officials, meaning the military, everything was functioning because they have backup plans for this shit. There was no bloody freak accident. There was just something that happens. It's unusual. Yes, it's unusual. But it happens. It can happen any day of the week. Why? Because when we have these breakdowns of tension, the first thing that happens is the entire network shuts down to prevent overloading. You know, like when you're in your house, and for example, there is an appliance or socket that for some reason overloads or starts burning or whatever, the entire electricity in your house shuts down. Why? Because the system knows, and this is a very simple system, not a very complex energetical grid. The system knows there is something wrong and it shuts down. Then what you have to do? See where the problem is, solve it, and reconnect. And that part of the reconnect takes a lot longer because I don't know if you know this, but for example, even the coils in an electrical in electrical, how you call it, substation or whatever, even the coils need to warm up a bit so they work properly. This is an example, you know. God. Now I'm going to end the stream before the bloody internet goes down again. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: when we are speaking about politics, you need to understand you have to follow your logic. You cannot follow, like I was saying just now, conspiracy theories and ideas and whatever. No, you do what I did. There was a power of blackout. I went directly to the source. I saw what was happening. Was it troublesome? Of course it is. You know? But it's not the end of the world. It's not a military invasion. If it was that, believe me, you will know. So you don't let yourself be led by these people that are transforming problems that exist into world ending events, that are transforming boats arriving because there is no proper procedures to deal with it in the country. They are transforming that into some kind of evasion. They are playing with your emotions because you are letting them play with your emotions. So what do? You let yourself have that reaction. Let that emotion, you can have that emotional response. But before you do something about it, it's your responsibility. So you think about it. And you think, yes, this seems a bit odd, but why are these people being allowed to enter. Then you go to the sources and you see, for example, that the government actually processes people. And then you see they are not processing them adequately. And that is the blame of who? Again, use your logic. Who was in government before? But no, you get lost in things that are worrying. For example, the trans vote, that alteration of a definition of a woman in the Constitution or whatever, just to please Mr. Donald Trump. You know, God, no, I really have to end this stream. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's I'm really having some issues here, but whatever. Now, I would like to thank anyone that stopped by and listened to me, and I will try to spend their time streams a bit shorter in a bit conspiracy theories, but I'm transforming not able to. I will probably end up simple events into. Well, I'll see you later and into major events. Have an excellent weekend.